Talitha Kumi, Women Warriors, Serena here. I just wanted to share this reflection from the Gospel, Luke 10:38 through I think 45 or 42 maybe. I'm so bad with scripture sometimes. I'm a Catholic Christian, so I have that going for me. But I really wanted to share this scripture because I think a lot of women bounce back between these two figures in the Bible, between Martha and Martha's sister Mary. And of course, it's a story where Jesus goes to Martha's house. Martha welcomes him in, and Jesus gladly with the apostles, they go to her house, and she's serving, she's caring for them. And yet you read in the scripture that she was burdened by that serving. So it's one thing to serve and to feel like extremely fulfilled in that and not resentful and feel like I'm doing I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm glad that we're here and the Lord is here, to think that. And yet instead what she was feeling, and I can imagine this, is that she was feeling a lot of resentment towards Mary. Like, that was her focus. It wasn't even Jesus. Like, Jesus was there and she was focusing on the fact that Mary was not serving with her, was not helping her. And that kind of resentment forming in her heart about Mary, that's actually, what Jesus pointed out, not specifically, but Jesus literally pointed, it was in the scripture, pointed out initially by the author, and then Jesus tells Martha that she's like anxious and burdened by many things. And Mary, so now moving on to Mary has chosen the better part, and that won't be taken away from her. And from there, obviously, we can see that resentment from Martha was rebuked by Jesus, in the sense of anything in that form of resentment, and the way, I can imagine the way she told Jesus, it was kind of like, I don't know, it sounds a little bit disrespectful or irreverent, right? It sounds a little bit like, who are you to tell God what to do? Sorry, it's moving my camera. But I think also Martha is clearly, like, this lesson is something that has definitely blessed her throughout her life. I can imagine that, because I can see Martha, if Jesus told me that, me being Martha, right? And I've been Martha, I've been like that in my life many, many times. And if Jesus looked at me and told me that, I would probably cry. I would probably be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Mary. I'm sorry, Jesus. And I would feel ashamed, for sure. I would feel embarrassed about my actions. And yet, there's no shame in being like Martha, though. There's no shame in caring or serving or, being that person, that type of person where, especially if it's your house, of course you're expected to serve and all those things. But I think where she missed the point of her serving was that she was very resentful about it. She was burdened by it. She wasn't counting it all joy to do that. She was burdened by it, right? I just really want to emphasize that in the Bible, or in that scripture. And then Mary. So I think there are times when I have definitely been in Mary's place, where I'm leaning into Jesus, I'm following everything he's telling me to do, and I think where maybe we can feel in that position as if we're doing all of that, and maybe you just don't feel acknowledged by Jesus. Maybe your heart is heavy because you're doing all the serving, or not serving, but you're leaning in, and you're at his feet, and you're so close to him. And there is definitely a possibility that you could feel heavy about that, because we do still live in a fallen world, that we still live in a place where, we kind of depend on things, whether it be, a job promotion, or whether it be finding somebody, in your life to spend the rest of your life with. And it could feel lonely. It could feel like you're doing everything Jesus is, telling you to do. You're at a point where you've followed him up to this point. Like, where you're at now is because you followed him. And I just want you to know that Jesus is going to acknowledge you. And if not already, which I'm sure he has already, but Jesus is acknowledging you. Trust in his timing. Trust in the way that he, and especially, you know, it's interesting because I think Jesus tells Martha it won't be taken from her. And sometimes we almost are in a position where we almost want that to be taken from us. If you feel the heaviness of your heart and in all, you know, you're leaning in and, you know, leaning in close to Jesus, it's like sometimes we can feel like, Lord, I'm kind of done with this. Can you just like take this away from me now? I'm done doing this. Not that we're consciously thinking of that, but sometimes if we feel the gap or we feel a lack in of maybe results or fruit, we can kind of feel that way. So I just wanted to give you some perspective that you are in a place where Jesus doesn't want to take that from you, because perhaps you are a huge testimony. You are a huge testimony to others that Jesus is your love. Jesus is your spouse in that very spiritual sense. He's the perfect man in your life. And sometimes more people need to witness that to not depend on maybe human love, not depend on the world. And some people really do need to witness that, like a Martha would need to witness that. So I just wanted to share and, you know, ask yourself, am I Martha or am I Mary? And if you do have other views on that, or if you have other things to add to that, I would love to hear that. Comment below, and see you guys later. Talitha Kumi.